thing here today.
And why the millennial generation is starting to give up because they can't afford to get a good job or own a house.
8 million Venezuelans voting for this assembly, saying it's actually less than 3.
It is. And people are going to start rioting in the streets.
Was reported to have asked Putin for military support that would help him stay in power.
We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
And they ignore him. And 8 more years goes by till Bernie himself finally admits to his sons, hey, I've been running a Ponzi scheme.
Does its dominance mean it can use the alliance for its own ends?
Since 1981, bond yields, also known as coupon rates, have just gone down and down and down.
Federal Reserve note will be your biggest financial liability.
RTD Live Talk. Tuesday night. Getting started a little bit later. Getting in late, and so I figured I would get on for a quick stream. But the primary subject, as you guys can tell from today's title, is going to be in reference to our debt. And so has some issues with correcting the actual title of the show tonight. But it's going to be about the record debt of $244 trillion and counting of global debt, and it far exceeds our global productivity. And so, as always, welcome to RTD Live Talk. My name is Mike, the host of RTD Live Talk. Looking forward to going back and forth just for a few minutes tonight. Wanted to definitely stick to the script as far as getting on and connecting with you guys this evening. And so I have to make sure I adjust. Looks like some things did not save in the chat. So let me get this corrected, and then we can go back and forth a little bit this evening. Record back is too long, so let me get this corrected. Appreciate you. Bear with me 1 second. All righty. So let's see what we got going on here in the chat. Appreciate you guys tuning in. And so it looks like we got Bellamy, Safe Golf, Nick, Banger Community, James. We got Philman. So yeah, so welcome to the show. And so just looking at my screen, for whatever reason, the title. Let me know in the chat what you guys are seeing as far as the title is concerned. There we go. I had to refresh the page. So record debt, 244 trillion engulfs the world. So right now we are, this number of $244 trillion in global debt. Who would have ever imagined that it would go as high as the word trillions? I've been studying this monetary stuff for quite a while now, and I remember going back to the early 1900s when it just touched billions, and I'm thinking, it just left 100 millions and it touched a billion, and so here we are in trillions. And then what's not surprising is in the derivatives market, there's close to $1 quadrillion worth of debt out there. So this thing here is going to be very ugly when it comes to an end, but that is what it is. So as always, welcome to RTD Live Talk. My name is Mike, the host. Feel free to chime in via chat. Let me know where you're watching from. More importantly, if you want to call in briefly and share what's on your mind, do so. 1-833-LIVE-RTD. We'd love to hear what's on your mind, as well as what else might be going on in the news that didn't cover today. And then also want to get your thoughts on the story from earlier that I did about Zimbabwe and how gas prices went up 150% within a 24-hour period. And Zimbabwe right now is burning, it looks like. So with that being the case, says howdy, how everyone says, hey, did you read the article that Fab Food Stamps just released just yesterday after the no more food stamps? Philman, food stamp. I didn't hear anything about food stamps. I know that there's going to be a shortage. Let me go ahead and Google that real quick and see if anything pops up in the news. But if you have an article, feel free to let me know what's going on with that. So just thumbing in food stamps, nothing comes up. So feel free to find a link for me and throw it in the chat, and I'll definitely check it out. And then it says, what else here? End of January. Okay, yeah. End of January, no food stamps. Yes, aware of that. And actually, it looks like I hear an echo. Am I hearing myself? Okay, no, I'm not hearing an echo. So as always, people, welcome to the chat. Any new people, let me know where you're watching us from. We'd love to welcome you directly. And more important, if you got something in your mind in reference to debt or the government shutdown or the article I did earlier on Zimbabwe, feel free to let me know. We'd love to definitely, get your take on that and see where this thing is heading. and what else is going on in the chat here. And then I'm going to share an article with you in reference to this debt, and then share my thoughts on how this year, we might end up adding to that debt a lot faster than than the world governments would have ever imagined, even though they know something is coming. Excuse me. And that the current rate of debt in existence is not really sustainable in the long run. It says, how many countries are in turmoil? STC Golf, how many countries are in turmoil? Too many to count on one hand. That's for sure. So, as always, we know that those countries that are labeled the emerging markets are having problems. And so we got Argentina, Brazil, Turkey, South Africa. So all those countries are having issues. Their economies are already in recessions. So that's the thing. Like, we're talking about a recession coming to the leading nation of the world here in the United States of America. But all of the nations that are labeled emerging are already in recession. So they're already having major issues, especially when it comes to the government balance sheet, because every government is tapped up. Every government has reached their, I ain't gonna say they reached their full capacity, because they still will try to pack on more debt. But every government, for the most part, when it comes to the GDP, as far as their productivity in regards to what they owe, everyone's approaching that fine point of being close to tapped out at 100%. We're above 100% here in total, if you count all the on the balance sheet books as well as off the balance sheet books. So it's not it's not pretty, man. In equity markets, says we should be near term top. It says we will get a race war in 2019. Ah, man, Patrick, patriotic American, don't say that, man. That's not good to say, man. That's just very problematic, because the last thing we need is to point the blame at one another, or it's more likely going to boil down to a civil unrest in reference to not being able to get a hold of goods and services, especially those that were dependent upon government assistance. If this strike continues on, there'll be a slowdown / stoppage of government aid, and then that's when people who've based their entire lives upon government funding will be desperate, and then will lead the charge in hitting the streets and causing issues. So, Cherish Your Jewel from Washington D.C. How you doing this evening? Thank you for tuning in. How are things in D.C. right now? This government shutdown. Any protests out there? Any marches or anything like that the mainstream media might not be covering? Feel free to let me know via chat. I would love to find out. It says race war would be class war. Yeah, I think it's going to be, Nick Connor. I think it's more a class war / social unrest, starting from the bottom and working its way to the top. Because when everything seems to go awry, political figures love to point the blame at capitalism and those that have more than enough, according to their standards, as the reason for the issue, where in actuality, we all know that, or we all don't know, but we will hopefully one day come to know that it's the monetary system itself. It's the central banking model, which is designed to enslave governments with debt and then force them to pay it back by creating more debt on top of that. So that's the true issue we are going to face. But they have an article here. I want to pull this up here. As always, I appreciate when people contribute in the news sector. Let's see what it's talking. It says, senior Trump official. It says, I hope a long shutdown smokes out the resistance. Yeah. So where did that come from? It says, President Trump just retweeted the following anonymous op-ed from Daily Caller saying it is worth the read. And so Donald Trump Jr., worth the read. I am a senior Trump official, and I hope a long shutdown smokes out the resistance. Oh, man. And see, here we go. The power of social media can be good and it can be bad, because automatically you're going to have whoever the resistance is. I would assume that Donald Trump Jr. is referring to the other side of the aisle that's causing issues over this funding. They're going to use this to say, don't you see this president and his family don't care about you? They're doing this on purpose, and all the things they're going to feed into their supporters to just egg on the idea that this is about a wall. And in actuality, it's not. It says, why would they? Yeah, this is good here, man. Definitely. I'll probably take a look at that later on, but not a good quote from whoever that person in the White House is. But I would imagine it's probably not somebody that, that's probably an intentional quote to cause problems and to cause some more strife. So wouldn't really pay it that much attention, other than the fact that I believe it's deliberate. Because who would say something like that in the middle of people not getting paid right now? It says Vegas has no issues at all, Linda. That's good to know. Or they have no issues that you're aware of. But I imagine there's people in Vegas not getting paid this week that's having some issues that may not be directly related, or people you might know directly. It says, we got Match Fetcher. It says, I see a few girl new money for their kids for school. I see a few girl need money for the kids for school, for food because of food stamp, and some girl walking the streets for money. That's not good. Yeah, man. So we have, and at the heart of all this, when you think about those that have positioned themselves upon aid for the government, it tend to be the low income individuals, not delivering much value into the workforce. And they tend to be the ones, and I don't want to stereotype, so please correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, or I want to make sure I word this correctly, but they tend to be the people who have come to abuse the system by taking advantage of, how would I say it? Probably having more children than their ability to take care of and feed without that aid. And so those individuals will be the one that, which makes it real bad, because now you're bringing kids into this, you're bringing families into this, people who, just unfortunately going to get caught up in this mess. So there's going to be a lot of people suffering that, shouldn't be, but that is what it is. It says American people are broke 100%. And here's the thing. I'm working on an infographic that I'll have ready tomorrow, and it has to do with conventional financial information and education on how there's always been there's more of a debt-free movement now, since the world is engulfed in debt, especially on the consumer side with student loan debt, credit card debt, mortgage debt, car note debt, all that consumption-based and educational higher learning debt. And so there's a lot of people graduating from college, I've noticed, and they're starting blogs, and they're starting movements and communities of being debt-free within a certain amount of time. So we have, a lot of people, a lot of millennials and younger, and a lot of, I've done videos in the past that gave the demographic breakdown of those in debt. And surprisingly, a lot of those that are 40s and 50s and 60s are in debt as well, because they decided to go back to pursue higher learning in hopes of them being able to add more value to the workforce. But those people that are starting blogs, they're talking about, $100,000 and I'm out of debt, my life will be set. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, like, in this current paradigm we're in this current monetary system, there is no way of being completely debt free, because the units of currency we use are debt instruments. So even if you're out of debt as far as what you incurred and got into yourself, you can be free of that. But then again, your next round of debt you're going to get into is the conventional financial information of now you got to save, you got to invest, you got to put aside these debt instruments into products such as financial instruments that are designed to grow over time. And then, as I always mentioned before, conventional wisdom has always says it's good to save for a rainy day because of compounding interest. But in actuality, according to the graph I'm going to show you guys tomorrow, you're going to see compound inflation at its best, to why tomorrow we get into it further. But the idea of retiring and having an ideal number of currency units that you will need to enjoy the remainder of your life once you retire is not going to be there, my friends, unfortunately. And so I got a great infographic I'm going to share tomorrow. So make sure you guys check in with me tomorrow. It's going to be a good one. But let me get to some chats. And as always, if I'm missing any calls, let me make sure I'm not missing any calls. Feel free to give me a call. I'm going to be online for a couple more minutes, but just want to talk about this debt. And so since I'm on here, let me go ahead directly to the primary article for this evening. And it says, global debt of $244 trillion nears record despite faster growth. Faster growth. Right. Growth where? Corporate stock buybacks and shares and all that type of fraudulent behavior and activity due to easy credit? Well, we don't know. But it says world debt exceeded 318% of GDP in third quarter, IIF says non-financial corporate debt nears record high of 92% of GDP. 318% of the global domestic product. You take all the productivity of governments, and we're still three times what we actually can afford, and it has to do with debt, especially what's on the balance sheets of the governments. So here's a little something here, just give you an idea of how it has increased over the last year. And so household debt in Q3 2017 was 44.2 trillion. It's up now about 2 trillion, 1.9 trillion to 46.1. Non-financial corporate, 68.6. It went up 3 trillion. Government debt went up about 2 trillion. Financial sector debt went up about another 2 trillion. So everybody's borrowing to capacity. It says total government debt exceeded 65 trillion. Total government debt. And now here's the issue with the whole government debt is all of these governments are borrowing from a central bank, their central bank. And so the central bank is able to bring into existence something from nothing to actually lend to governments, and then the government puts it into circulation via the Federal Reserve and the currency notes, and as well as the commercial banks with fractional reserve lending, all that included. So an institution brings nothing and turns it into something, and it entraps us with record levels of debt that will never be paid off. So the question will be, if it's not going to be paid off, what will happen to all of this debt in the end? And then that's when it gets into the idea that it all has to do with national currencies around the planet. They're all denominated. So right now, this dollar sign here is utilizing the Federal Reserve note, aka the current reserve currency, to evaluate all the debt in all national currencies at 244 trillion. And it's 300% over what is being produced. So there's no way of paying it off whatsoever. So everyone's livelihood will be impacted by this when this thing comes to a halt, because one day it will. So that's just one article there. But more importantly, let me get into the chat a little bit. I tend to go on my rants every now and then. It says, Linda, how you doing? It says, pray for Zimbabwe. We don't have to. It's so bad. They need help. Yeah, man. When I saw the article and somebody shared, I think last night in the chat, and I was really touched and moved by that, because I'm thinking like, man, those people, they didn't know what was coming. They don't know. Unfortunately, they know now how their monetary system works because they don't trust their government. All these countries that are having issues, they don't trust the government. They don't trust all the politicians, even though they continue to vote for them. And most of these nations here are more in socialistic dictatorship type governments, where the governments are able to manipulate, and rig the election process and always seem to be reelected when the people are starving on the streets, as if people really truly want to vote them in. So those are always questionable in the first place. I never really believe those electoral processes in those countries. It says, why do you think we're in so much debt? Why do I think we're in so much debt? Because the monetary system is made up of debt. The only way currency units, hence national currencies, the dollars, we got the euros, we got the yen, we got the renminbi, we got the pesos, we got all those notes are brought into existence because someone has to borrow. And it starts with our government. And then it goes to the commercial banks. When you take out a loan, your car loan, all that's being brought into existence from nothing. And so that's why we have so much debt. And that's why debt is needed. But it hasn't always been that way. But once we went into solely a fiat currency, meaning just a debt instrumented note, then that's what happened, because there's no way of reeling this back in. Because if there was a way to pay off all this debt, that means there wouldn't be no currency in circulation, because every note and digit in the screen that's been issued would be accounted for in paying off all the debt. So that's one of the things of there. You cannot be debt free. Debt must continue to increase in order for this thing to go around. Hence the idea of the world being engulfed. The world goes round and round and round because of our debt-based monetary system. Gregory says, gas is now 15 per gallon in Zimbabwe. And so, Gregory, I came up with $15 off of roughly averaging 2 reports. So one report on Saturday said it was $3.11 on, I think, Saturday night, once the president declared a increase in gas prices. Then by the other article I reported on, as of Tuesday, I think it was, the gas price was $4.50. So I think it went up in that time frame. So I just averaged out the 2 times 3.78 liters of gas, which is the equivalent of a gallon. And so could you imagine going to the gas station in the size cars we have here? We love our trucks here. We love big SUVs because gas is low. But will you still love your SUV if gas was $15 a gallon? and you probably hold 60 gallons. It's good to say you probably won't be driving much. You won't be driving a car, or you won't be putting much gas in your tank. So let me ask everybody a question in the chat right now. If gas prices right now, I think it's like $2, unimaginably cheap for now. And having cheap gas is not a good thing, because a lot of debt was created on propping up refineries and all the behind the scene gas manufacturers and producers that they got to pay back. So if they're not making profit, they're going to have issues paying back their debt. So cheap gas is not a good thing. It says, Will, hey, I've been watching for your channel for about a year now. First time watching a live stream. Will, well, I appreciate you tuning in tonight, my friend. Hope you're not disappointed. And so, yes, I'm talking about a variety of things, primarily around debt, and how there's $244 trillion in counting that can't be paid back. So it's going to grow, exponentially until we have to just reset it. Nothing can go on forever, I would imagine. Tony Blaylock says, coming to America. Yeah, and I believe it's probably already here, Tony. And then the next article I'm going to share with you is another form of debt outside of the $244 trillion. And it says Brexit spells trouble for Europe's $660 trillion derivatives market. So already right there between that, debt I just mentioned, 244 and it's 660, what does that equal up to? So can somebody do the math? That's $904 trillion in just debt. And these derivatives are connected to everything. So there's no way that this can unravel in a friendly manner. But give you an idea of what's going on here, it says EU institutions have been anxious to preserve access to UK's clearinghouses, which acts as go-betweens for buyers and sellers in financial markets. It says Brussels has said it will issue temporary licenses, recognizing UK laws as equivalent to EU standards to ensure that Europe's $660 trillion derivatives market will function with minimum disruption. $660 trillion in derivatives. And those are all financial side bets amongst the financial sector, hence in banks. So all the banking sector has got involved in these, and there's even products that you can buy, and there's investing in these things, but they were all designed to, I would assume, never be paid off, because who got 660 trillion sitting in a bank somewhere to make good on their bet or their hedge? So that's considered legalized global gambling that will not end pretty. It says, I recommend everyone to watch There's No Tomorrow. It's on YouTube. I'll check that out. It says gas is $1.79 per gallon, so cheap. Mike B's, and that is it's too good to be true, and that's a problem, as I was mentioning earlier, because if it's cheaper than it costs to manufacture and produce and refine and put into the ground for us to go to pump and actually acquire, because I'm not sure what the crude oil price is now, but there's issues with that. But apparently, good gas prices is good for the economy, but it won't be good for much longer when all those debts that were taken out for productivity isn't paid back. But we got a call. Let's see who's on the line. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
It's Tony from Oakland. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Tony from Oakland. What's on your mind this evening?
Oh, man, I don't know. I keep wanting to think that we're going to get out of this thing, but from what Janet Yellen says, she's got it.
Yeah, now I didn't exactly hear what Janet Yellen said, but I heard something, and it sounded like, just from the title, that she maybe changed her mind from that quote she said 2 or 3 years ago that we'll never have a financial recession or something she said. Well, what exactly did she say? Hello? Anybody still there? Tony, give me a call back, my friend. I'll get you on here. But yeah, I'm curious to hear what she said, because I really didn't get a chance to hear what she said, but definitely want to hear what she said, and I got to look that up for myself. But anyway, let's keep this party moving. Going to be a couple more minutes, so give me a call back and I'll get you on here. And other than that, let me get rid of this, making all this noise over here. But anyway, what else is going on in the chat? Let me, derivatives equals, what's that? Wait, that's a good little, some good little emojis there. Let me see if I can decipher that. Derivatives equals garbage. with the shits. If am I reading that correct? Derivatives equals garbage. They can be thrown in the garbage. I'm assuming you mentioned that's a garbage basket, so I'll take it at that. It says new crude contracts are all over from the oil boys. I know. Yeah, limits to growth and the future. Exactly, it's derivatives. If we are already in a recession, then when do we think it will crash? Ah, man, good point there. So based upon all the prior interviews I've done, all the gentlemen that's joined me and their perspectives, everyone has all types of indicators that tells us where we currently stand as an economy, and everything has been down in various areas. Now, when and how this thing unfolds, I'm not sure, but based upon prior history, it's going to be when. That's why I think the whole year ended with.
Got a line open, Mike.
Yeah, I got you. What's that? Okay, well, go ahead and get you on here. I was going to try to finish that thought, but what's your name? Where you calling from?
Dale from.
I'm sorry, Dale from where?
Dallas.
Dale from Dallas. How you doing, Dale? What's on your mind tonight?
Mike, that Brexit thing.
Yeah.
What do you think that really was all about? What do you think that's really all about?
Oh, man, good question, man. And I'm going to be upfront honest with you. I haven't been following it much. I don't know the details of it other than it was supposed to have already gone through. But it looks like the powers that be behind that is playing a stall type of tactic. So I'm not sure how that will unfold. And I haven't been following it to really give a solid opinion on it. So with that being the case, I'll ask you your opinion. What do you think?
I was thinking back when you had stated something about everybody using their own currency, their own national currency.
Yeah.
Because the Great British Pound been compared to the euro, they've been kind of down,
Yeah. It's become somewhat of a
reality.
Yeah.
But here's what's so shocking about it. When I looked at this thing today and how they voted that down, I'm thinking to myself, man, there has to be another plan.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was digging around and I found out that there was another plan that they're actually holding up. I don't want to say it what it is, but a specific currency, And at the correct time, they're going to release their currency, and they stand to make, over $100 trillion.
So you're talking about UK in general, or who's holding this currency you're referring to?
I'm talking, the UK in general.
That's interesting. Now, Dale, you can't bring us this far and leave us hanging now, so you got to give us something to work with.
No, because we don't want certain things. I'm just thinking,
Well, Dale,
certain things I just hate to bring up because then you get a lot of people chiming in on something that I really hate to mention the name of it.
Well, but Dale, don't do it. Shoot me an email, man. You got to let me know because I'm curious. I kind of got an idea, but I'm interested because you can't leave me hanging, man. So shoot me an email.
And Mike, it goes hand in hand with the man, I can't think of the name of it, but I got to go on there via email. The other thing, what was that with the Basel III Act? That's it.
The Basel III Act. That's what you're referring to?
Yeah, the Basel Banking Act that the entire globe is supposed to be attached to in 2019. But this is only to happen after the Brexit deal. So regardless if May gets the proper vote, March the 29th is the end of that. Regardless, they leave under Title 50 of the agreement.
Yeah. So
regardless of what any vote is, that deal is going down.
Yeah, now I got to get caught up to speed on that because I'm looking at it now, and that's one thing I haven't looked at in depth. So I got an article here. I'm going to pop it up, but definitely I got to get well-versed in this. But, yeah, man, I appreciate you for bringing that up and giving me something to study. So I appreciate you.
Here's something that'll lead you to that, Mike.
Yeah, go ahead.
Remember, keep in mind, remember the Iraqi war. Remember that.
Yeah.
So, and that'll lead you all the way back to Downing Street.
But good deal, man.
Okay.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. Thanks for calling in, boss.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mike.
All right. Yep. Yeah, man. That's good stuff right there. Love being put on game on good information there. That's why it's great to have a well-informed community of people that keep their eyes open and their ears to the ground. It says, I can get rich during the crash. It says, reset across the globe with the dollar. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be, I think somebody said, Nick Connor said, I think it's going to be 2020 if you read the Regal reports, if you believe them. Deagle. I'm not sure what that reports are. Nick, what reports are you referring to there? I'm not familiar with those. Yeah, man. So yeah, but everyone can tell that something's not right. And it's just a matter of time. It is just a matter of time. Yeah, man, that's what it is, man. That is the issue. And so we're in the beginning of a new year that started off a little bit rocky. As you can tell, they're trying to do their best to prop up the equities market. So I haven't even though I saw that there was like last week, I think there was a consecutive days of positive gains for the Dow. So it's at 24,000 now. And so once again, let me see, look at the last 5 days. It's been slowly creeping up as if there's support out there, but support from who? Because I know one thing, I haven't got into any equities lately. So I wonder who's out there buying, because more people that know the real deal, I'm sure, are not buying. It says Dow rises more than 100 points. Netflix leads tech rally. Netflix, man, when they done entertaining people, what will they offer us? I'm not sure what that will be, but not much worth invested in now. Even though it may go up in the future even more, but who knows? It says if you study the 1930 stock market, it was J.P. Morgan that bailed the market out from the crash, handed back. Very true, but also from that, every what they call it, every it's a word for it that was changed after every panic. So if you type in panic, there was a panic which we call recessions now, but they were panics back in the day. Because let me go back and go to panic banking. So let me go. So if you look up panic, so if you type in panics, there's a panic, and the very first panic comes up. So the very first panic that comes up is the panic of 1819, and it was right after the post-war of 1820. Economic expansion ended. So we call them recessions now, but back in the day, they were known as panics. And it was basically just a credit freeze where the banking sector, which ran the economy, all the too big to fail banks and the credit system, they would basically just call in all bets, call in all loans, cause a credit freeze. There'll be a panic. Those who held all the reserves would then buy up everything and go bigger. Then they'll extend credit again. Then they call in the debt. Everybody folds, they go out and buy up everything else. So they've been doing, the central banking model is to extend credit from nothing and then call it back in and then go collect everybody's goods. So if you just type in bank panics, you'll see bank panics 1819, 1832, 1856, 1873, 1890. There's a banking panic 1907, which led to the Federal Reserve Act being created. Then 1913 it was passed. So it's nothing new, man. It's the same old game. As long as you know how the game plays and how they can manage to keep this thing going, just do the opposite. I can't give advice, but just, stay out of things that are, not worth anything in the long term. Debt-based instruments, basically, is what I'm saying. Unless you're a trader, you know how to profit and make money, all stuff like that. So, do you in that regard there. But, stick to what you know. Stick to what your first love is what I tell myself to do. And stay encouraged to do myself. It says, where do you buy gold and silver? James, good question there. And beneath this video here is an affiliate that I associate with, SD Bullion. And so they definitely do a good job. Not too far from me, so that's why I deal with those guys, but they'll take care of you. And so if you're interested, take a look at the link below. They got a special where you get a single silver round at spot price. So take advantage of that, my friend. It says, Mike, please talk about how subsidies being removed by our government will affect inflation with everything we buy. Okay, so just to share my thoughts on that. So the question is how subsidies being removed by our government will affect inflation with everything we buy. And so let me think that through thoroughly. So subsidies been moved, such as let me see. So food subsidies. And so subsidies, so basically wherever the government, subsidy in our educational system. Government is subsidizing people going to school. So that caused prices to go up. That's why prices right now are so astronomically high, because the government extends loans and they offer all types of credits and rebate or whatever they do to subsidize people being able to go to college. And so when it comes to the food game, food stamps, that's a government subsidy. So by the government issuing coupons for a portion of the population to be able to go out and get goods and services, they themselves are able to get it. But yet if there was no subsidy for the issued by the government, then that means there'd be a good portion of the population that would not be able to feed themselves, quote unquote. So they would have to have more currency, more funds in their hand to actually go get those same finite amount of goods. So I believe inflation is not going to be from government removing subsidies. Inflation will come from, too many notes and too many digits competing for a finite amount of goods. So I don't see government subsidies really impacting inflation in that regards there directly, other than just the creation of more credit and more funny money that competes against the same amount of goods that never tend to change really. So, but that's my little 2 cents on that. Feel free, if you may got any thoughts on that, feel free to chime in the chat. It says, what is the government shutdown really about? Kenneth, what is it about? Hey, that's a good question, Kenneth, and we can probably be on for an hour because there's so many people with so many different varieties of angles they want to look at it. And so it depends on if you are of the mindset that the current president now, is put into power and he's draining the swamp as he promises. Then if he's draining the swamp as he promises, then behind the scene, he's using the wall as some type of strategy or tactic to try to bring out and cause issues within the political sphere so that he can get done his agenda behind the scenes. And so a lot of people to play into that say that there's a lot of sealed indictments. And so there's a lot of cleaning out of Washington, D.C. And so there's articles out there on a record amount of lifetime political figures retiring all of a sudden out of the blue or not running again for election. And that's very mysterious. So the question will be, why is that? And so you have to find those articles and whatnot. But there's so many articles done in the alternative media realm that gives us an idea that there's a flushing out of the I want to say cockroaches, but that's not a good way to call our political leaders. But there's a flushing out of a lot of people that are not operating in the best interest of the American public. And so this wall is somehow tied into that, and not sure how it all will unfold, but yet definitely it's causing issues that will need to be addressed because American people will be forced to become more political in their viewpoints, whether they hate Trump or like Trump or the movement that took place this past spring where the whole hashtag walk away movement was full bloom. We had thousands of people doing videos online about walking away from the Democratic Party as if going to the Republican Party was really any better. So yeah, man, that's my little 2 cents, but definitely I believe it has more of a darker nature to it than just a flat out wall. And then some people always mention it about drugs and human trafficking and all the dirt and the dark satanic stuff in the political realm, man. And so somebody say corruption and the evil. Yeah, it's the evil things that I don't really even feel comfortable speaking about because the stuff is dark and dirty. And yeah, I don't want to get carried away with that because I can throw out all types of crazy stuff that have you thinking that, I went off the cuff with mine, but it's just stuff that I follow and believe to be somewhat valid. It says, hey, HRD, why don't you accept XRP on your donations? I haven't accepted HRP as far as my donations just because I have not. I was, a part of XRP and that particular coin years and years ago, but I no longer have any in my possession. And so I do recognize that it will pop one day and make a lot of paper, but it's by the people that we're all talking against. So I don't really want to get involved in that. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Mike, Tony from Oakland.
Tony, how you doing, my friend? I lost you. I apologize for that.
No, I don't think it's your fault, man. I'm driving right now.
Okay, what's on your mind this evening?
Trump and the wall. I'm trying to figure this thing out myself.
Mm-hmm.
Government shutdown.
Mm-hmm.
Non-essential workers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can we say Ronald Reagan and the air traffic controllers?
And I can speak more on that. I wasn't too in tune with political information back in those days, so put me up on game, please.
When the air traffic controllers went on strike,
mm-hmm.
They had 30 days to get back to work, and once they did not report to work, that Reagan fired them and brought in some scabs. And I'm just thinking that these people that Trump has got laid off are considered non-essential workers for the government.
Yeah.
So that was his plan after
So to hold back their check, pissing them off, starving them to the point where they'll quit, and that'll be a little bit less expenditures on the government's books, or what?
They're quitting already.
Yeah, they're
another 2 weeks, and he'll have his $5.7 billion
from money saved from payroll that wasn't given on payroll.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the rumor. Another 2 weeks, he'll have his money. And not only that, they are guaranteed to get that money. Congress has passed the bill. Senate's passed the bill, and it's sitting on the president's desk, and he said he's going to sign it when he gets his wall. So they ain't guaranteed to get paid.
Yeah, so if your paycheck is literally being held hostage, then it's good to say that you ain't really, Go ahead.
It's a shame that you have to have a law in order for you to get paid for something that you're doing right now.
Yeah, so that's every reason more than ever to basically say I need to leave this and go find something. And so that's a good angle, a good way to put it. I didn't think of that one. So man, I appreciate that, Tony.
No worries, brother. Keep your head up.
All right, my friend, be good.
You too. Bye.
Yeah, man, that's a different angle there. He's basically, you can say in an uncomfortable way, he's starving the beast by not feeding it, hoping that it'll get up and go away and save the government a little money. And I mean, yeah, and I think as a result of this government strike, depending on how long this thing lasts, a lot of people will realize that maybe perhaps you might not want to work in the public sector in regards to the government, because if you have strikes like this and you are not of extreme value to the government in regards to what you bring service-wise to them, then you're expendable. And so a lot of 800,000 people are probably finding out they're a lot more expendable than they would have ever imagined, because they were taught to believe that if you work for the government or in government or for the public, you're good for life. Yeah. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Pat from Alabama. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Pat. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fine. I was going to call in and tell you that, the basic majority of people just aren't worth it. Then I got to listening to your show, and the so intelligent people calling in that are wide awake, got their eyes open, know about subjects that are going on. I got to commend your audience.
Oh, yeah, man. The RTD community they on point. Got some smart individuals out here.
I was, and like I said, I was going to call you and ask you if all the people that, you're wearing your tie and your suit and giving your best appearance, which it looks good, guy.
Well, thank you.
To wake people up. And I was going to say they're not worth it. But after hearing the fine folks that talked on your show, they're worth it, I want to tell you.
Yeah, I agree, man. And that goes down to just, and when you say the people that are on the show and just people in general, most people are in this predicament working for the government because they had no real information to think otherwise. They were told that in working for the government, you're good, you're safe, you're gonna get benefits for life. So they were told one thing, but yet we're starting to see that was probably to their grandparents, not necessarily in this generation, because of the primary subject tonight, which is debt and the issues that come from it. So yeah, things are unraveling at the seams at a very rapid pace. And so people are experiencing it now. So I believe more people will become more politically motivated to study, research, and look for people who are talking about issues that impact them directly, so that they'll be more informed and make better decisions for their personal lives as well as politically moving forward. So yeah, but yeah, appreciate it, Pat.
Hey, like I said, kudos on your audience, and thank you for bringing up the light. Like I said, I was kind of down and going to tell you nobody was worth it. So you have fun, Mike.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks. Have a good evening.
All righty, bye.
Yeah, man. Glad I was able to get you to think a little different there, Pat. All human life is worth something, not only in a natural sense, but in a spiritual sense, because God definitely, if you're still alive, you're still breathing, you're here for a reason. So there's a reason and a cause and a purpose for everyone's life. So, but that's it for tonight, people. I'm going to end it right there. I just wanted to get on tonight and do a little short live stream just to connect so I can stay routine and get your thoughts on the debt, and as well as every other subject we covered tonight. I definitely got a couple articles opened up here that I got to touch on and update myself on. So as always, people, I appreciate you joining me this evening. If you've enjoyed the back and forth, don't be afraid to hit the thumbs up button, because what that does is helps more people find what's going on here in this community, and it'll connect people with us so that they can stay informed and probably a little bit more aware than they would be if they watched CNN, Fox, MSNBC, and stuff like that, where they hear information after the facts. After something already goes down, that's when they hear about it. So we try to give people here a heads up before it occurs so that they can be aware and, more importantly, be able to brace somewhat for impact. So that being the case, appreciate you guys for joining us. Peace, good night, be a blessing to everybody. Say your prayers, and definitely hold on tight, people. Be blessed.